second language final. On opening proposition, we have IIUM. On opening opposition, we have Tel Aviv. On closing proposition, we have BDU. On closing opposition, we have Leiden. Motion for this house is this house support scientists who fabricate. This house supports scientists who fabricate evidence, exaggerating the certainty of man-made climate change when there is a low likelihood of being caught. For panel for this round, we have Sean on my extreme right, and Shen Wu, Alex, Cormac, on my immediate right, Bronwyn, Shamila, Saiga, and Kurt. Okay, in order to open the case for the government bench, we call upon the Prime Minister from IIUM.
Testing. 2012 might not necessarily be a myth if we don't act now. In Bola Island, more than 50,000 innocent individuals have been displaced and be considered to be environmental refugees. Whole islands like Katarat Atoll is now underwater because governments are not acting rapid enough. Ladies and gentlemen, we understand that there are minor changes and discussions happening in South Africa recently within the Copenhagen Treaty and also the Kyoto Protocol, but all of these are mere facade and has not been massive change. We say, ladies and gentlemen, the harms of the environment is something which you can't predict at that moment, and is something which is irreversible, massively disastrous. We say an act of exaggeration is justified when it is for utilitarian purposes. Our stance on opening government is simple. We say any exaggeration to perpetuate human development and human representation in the long run is justified. So let's look at the model which we stand for, although we think this might be a very judgment debate. We say the state should support this, ladies and gentlemen, by providing continuous funding and in some extent also to hide these kind of facts. At the same time, assist them in any kind of measures which is possible. Mr. Speaker, what type of exaggerations are we talking about? We say providing graphical images, pictures, videos, so what might happen 1 year down the street, despite the fact that that effects might only take place 20 years to come. Give them statistics and continuously inform public about this. But we need to realize the realm of this debate is where it is extremely difficult for opposition and the corporate sector to call this bluff. So we need to debate around that paradigm, ladies and gentlemen. The burden of proof from this side is clear. We say, ladies and gentlemen, only through our policy can we jumpstart environmental change, environmental development for the long run. 3 arguments. My first argument, why is it a dire need for exaggeration? Ladies and gentlemen, let's just discuss the harms of environmental change, right? Shortly. People's lives are lost, money are spent, billions of dollars, ladies and gentlemen, to recover the losses. Environmental refugees, which reassures everyone. People feel insecure because they think that maybe the next day they might be hit by the tsunami. Sit down. So why is it necessary for us to exaggerate this? For 2 reasons. The first reason, ladies and gentlemen, is because we need to combat corporate influence and monopoly on environmental issues. What does this mean? We say huge corporate sectors are using the largest of funds which they have, ladies and gentlemen, to counter all the facts which environmental scientists are putting on. The reason here, ladies and gentlemen, is that there is no fair platform here because they have billions of dollars coming from Shell and ExxonMobil to hide the effects of environmental change, especially when they have control over the media in some extent, ladies and gentlemen, so they condition and shape the mindset of society. Despite the fact that it is equal, despite the fact scientists really want to push for change, they can't do that, ladies and gentlemen, because of the effects and backlash of the monopoly which the corporate sector provides. Sit down. But the second reason why exaggeration is justified is because we need to combat facts that are intuitive towards the human race, people like you and me. Because there is a hierarchy of needs, ladies and gentlemen. Despite the fact that environment is something which is important, human race just cares a lot about economic needs, ladies and gentlemen. So money, maybe in some instance, even sex to an extent, that they prioritize these facts more in contrast towards the environment. Even though environment is equally as important as other factors, ladies and gentlemen, they don't view this something as important because it's not in front of them. They can't feel it, they can't touch it, ladies and gentlemen, in contrast to the money which they gain in the short run. So we say by exaggerating this, ladies and gentlemen, now we make it a primary interest of human race to prioritize. Before I move on to the second argument, opening.
Could it be possible that it is better to help hunger or unemployment or wars instead of what you're saying, and that is a valid way to invest the funds?
That's not mutually exclusive, right? If you want to help poor people, you want to help people in family, fine. But at the end of the day, we say exaggeration is still justified. Second argument is the principle. Why is it the responsibility of environmental scientists specifically to do this? We understand and we agree that it is the responsibility of everyone to preserve the environment. But we say the level of responsibility towards environmental scientists is higher. Why? Because it is the mandate of their job, ladies and gentlemen, to make sure that each and every single individual in this room is aware of the effects of environmental change, ladies and gentlemen. So if they fail to do so, that means that they have broken the mandate for doing this. The example and the parallel can be drawn towards the doctor and patient relationship, ladies and gentlemen. That's why in most Western democracies, doctors are allowed to inform the police when a case of domestic violence takes place, and even employ placebo effects policies in some instances. Sit down. So finally, this is the most important argument. The third argument. Why will our policy work and what are the effects of this? The first reason why policy will work, because that's where environmental scientists can monopolize the trust which they have. Because individuals like you and me, it's much more intuitive for us to trust the scientists because they have authority. We believe that they have been working in these sectors for 20 or 30 years of their lives. Sit down. We don't trust politicians that much because they don't specialize on this. That's why when generals are brought towards the Senate before America invaded Iraq and Afghanistan, that's when people trust them more in contrast to politicians using their will. But the second reason why it will work, ladies and gentlemen, because that's when politicians, and that's why we can pressure governments to employ better environmental standards and policy. Because that's where we change the mindset of voters on the ground. That's because we are employing here, ladies and gentlemen. That's when voters will vote for better environmental policies in the long run. But the third reason why it will work, because we are activating the emotions and fear of individuals on the ground. That's when I see a picture that maybe 1 year to come or 5 years to come, I can't have a family. My family will suffer, die, ladies and gentlemen. So in that particular context, that's when it will work, because just simply will work. So what's the outcome of this? The outcome here is that's where governments will be much more active when it comes to its environmental talks, like going to its Copenhagen treaties, by being more serious, because the people is pressuring them to do so. But more importantly, that's where government will employ greater environmental standards, cracking down on people who are not following these standards, employing green technologies in the long run. Ladies and gentlemen, more importantly, that's where people will be more environmentally friendly. Ladies and gentlemen, we agree that in some instances, lying and exaggeration is not a good thing. But when it comes to an environment, there's a specific and intrinsic nature. That once the harm has been done, it is something which is irreversible, and that harm cannot be seen at that time. We say we need to create a policy of equilibrium. Only then can we bring change. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. I now call upon the leader of the opposition from Tel Aviv.
I was surprised to hear that the state should now decide what is true and what is not. It seems that the proposition knows what they want to do about the environment, but they're not going to let the facts confuse them. Well, we're going to talk to you about exactly how we should invest our time and our money and our efforts, and what the questions that we need to ask are, and how this hurts our ability to make the right answers. We're going to talk to you about the dangers of bad and faulty data in our scientific community, and we'll talk about the relations between politics, policymaking, and science, and how they're doing creates a lot of damage. But before that, we heard a lot about, look, we need to combat all the corporate influence, a lot of bodies that have interests. Yes, this is how we work in policy making. There are lots of influences. There are government organizations, there are other organizations. The way to do that is not to lie to everyone. If you want to have a real debate, you need to have the real data and all of the people's opinions on it, so you can get the best conclusion possible. Then he said, well, people don't know what they want. They want things like economy and stuff like that. And we say, well, there are lots of things that people can want. If we let them know how important things really are, what the consequences really are, then they will be able to make the decision of what they want. Later he said, well, they're not aware, they don't know about it. And here's the distinction. We are all for publishing data. We are all for publishing statistics. We're all for writing everywhere. Look, it's really important to talk about the environment. But all of that is giving them real data that will make them more aware, but not aware of lies, aware of what the situation really is. And lastly, he said, well, it's going to work because people believe scientists who think climate science is already tainted with things people saying, well, look, this is politicized and so on. This will make it even worse. It will make it so that even when we do give the right facts, people may not believe, and that is simply bad. And now, to my first point, how do we invest the money that we have in order to save the environment or do lots of other things? Because the question usually isn't whether we want to save the environment or not. The real question is sort of how. What do we do about the fact that the world is getting warmer? And there are generally like two different things to do. We can either try to prevent it, right? If it's really man-made and we can do lots of things about it, then we'll cut emissions, which cost us a lot of money, and we'll make the world a better place. But if we can't, then we want to start dealing with the damages, right? We want to build dams. We want to build warning systems that allow people to get away. We want to build safer buildings which won't collapse. We want to have emergency resources so that we know what to do. And the question of which of these we want to do is the question that will save untold lives. And in order to make the right decision, we need to know how much of it exists, how fast this is happening, how much of it is man-made, and we need the real facts. If we think that it is man-made when it is not, then we may try to prevent it, fail, and what will happen is that people will die because of it. If we do not know the real facts, we may make the wrong decision. I'll take closing.
There are people that don't believe in climate change because they don't want to believe in climate change. They've told us we will only start believing in it once you give us this 90% number.
Perfect.
How are we going to
If there
start
are
having
people
the
who
debate
don't
with these
believe,
people?
if there are people who don't believe because they don't want to believe, that's why it's so important not to let the people who believe now control what facts we have. That will be exactly my third point. Because there is an emotional bias not to change our opinion, that's why we must not let our opinion control which facts we see and believe in. But let's continue to my point. Now, what we're saying is that we need to know how things happen in order to make a decision. But it's not only decision how to deal with global warming. It's also whether there are other things that are more important. We can't take that money that we use in order to cut emissions to try to stop wars, stop hunger, find a cure for malaria. There are lots of other things. If we want to know what we want to invest on, what will save more lives, we need to decide what is more important. If they exaggerate the data, they may save some people and kill so many others. We think that's horrible. And so what we're saying is very simple. If you want to make the best decision, obviously it's good to save people from global warming. If you want to make the best decision, to save the most people, you need to have the real data. But more than that, what are the dangers of faulty data? Because science is mostly considered fact. What we have in the textbooks, what we have in the articles, we consider it to be truthful. And then later it is used for many different things that proposition isn't even thinking of. For instance, climate data is used in order to see weather patterns and decide how to grow crops and which crops to grow. And it affects agriculture. If we now decide whether to move to drought-resistant crops or not, okay, those crops grow actually less food and may feed less people, but will be more tolerant to global warming. That is a question that will save lives. And if we exaggerate the effects, we may actually kill people because we use crops that are not fitted to the environment that will be 10 or 50 years from now. If we design navigation routes at sea, which these things are used for, if we want to decide when and where to protect the environment and to intervene in the affairs of animals and plants, these things may have harmful effects, but we need to know whether they're necessary in different areas. And you know what? There may be even more unexpected things we don't know. What we do know is that we're writing things as facts that are not true, and we have no idea what consequences they may have later on the effects that other things that we will decide and we will do. So this will lead to bad decisions, not only in global warming and things we see today. This will lead to bad decisions in areas that we can't even tell how bad they will be. Some of them we can, like the crops, and other ones we simply have no idea. But lastly, the relations between politics and science, because policy making is an act of opinion, is an act of social policy. What do we want to do? Science tries to realize, how does the world look? And obviously, well, we want to have the right facts in order to make the right opinions and decisions, right? That's sort of obvious, it sort of went through all my speech. But it's more than that, because what happens when we reverse it? What happens when we allow our opinions today to change our perception of the truth and reality? And the thing that happens is, it makes us so much harder to realize when we are wrong, when we are not exactly right, or when we are completely wrong. Because we accept that sometimes we get it wrong. And those are the worst cases. The worst cases are when we think we're right, we're going in the right direction, and we're only doing more damage. That's the most important thing, is make it as easy as possible to realize our mistakes and to start working better. How does this stop it? Well, first of all, notice that it is hard for people to tell they're wrong, because there's the emotional bias that we heard from proposition, because there's an evidence bias. We don't want to see evidence that contradicts what we have. What they're doing is making it even harder to see when evidence contradicts what we currently think. That's true for global warming, that's true for other things as well. The thing is that as soon as we decide, look, here is our opinion, this is what we think we should do, because of that we will now create the truth around what we think we should do. It'll make it so much harder to realize, even when the actual truth tells us that we're wrong. And so what we're saying is very simple. If you're allowing the opinions today to change your perception of truth, even if tomorrow the truth changes, opinion changes, the situation changes, or anything else causes us to see, well, we were just damn wrong, it'll be so much harder to do it, and the damage that we may be doing will continue much, much longer. So what did we tell you today? We told you that people will make the best decisions if we give them the real and true data. We told you that the fact that we actually change it makes people make wrong decisions on how to spend the resources. We told you the dangers may be untold and unexpected, and we told you that as soon as we allow our current opinion to change the truth, we have much less chance to realize whether we were wrong. For all of these reasons, please vote.
Thank you very much, Leader of the Opposition. Now we welcome the Deputy Prime Minister from IIU.
They say the truth will set you free. The truth here still exists. The environment is deteriorating. At some point in time, we will still have to change our ways. What we are exaggerating is at the rate that this is going, and the change that can actually come into effect because of the fact that we exaggerated this rate. No one is denying anything. All of us want to go and take care of the environment. It's our responsibility. We agree. They want to do that too. But under which paradigm can this be prioritized as well? Excellent. Okay, 4 rebuttals coming from my side, right? Firstly, they're talking about how these individuals can make the decision. They choose what they want, right? Because you have to understand, The reason why we can't just create these sorts of things is because, you individuals just can't choose. Although the effects might come, 20 years' time, but you have to realize the difference between the rate of us destroying the environment and the rate of us being able to recover from that destruction is very much huge, right? It takes about 4 trees to probably be cut down to create a stack of papers. But let's just imagine how long it takes to probably grow those 4 trees back again. You see, although the effects might be delayed, but it's not about the effects, it's about how do we recover from that as well. That's why we say that in this instance, people just can't make that decision. On the second issue, saving lives, we need to prioritize. Firstly, we feel that there are enough institutions like NGOs or any corporations to actually fund anything that they prefer. I mean, if GM feels like they want to fund something that's to do with hunger, it's up to them rather than environmental issues, right? But on the second issue, if that was the case, then what is your top priority? Is it the recession? Is it poverty? Is it hunger? Is it genocide? Is it the medicine or the instances of HIV and AIDS? There are so many instances and there are so many pressing issues within society already. How then do you prioritize? You just can't. What you can do is you actually go and err on the side of caution, which is exactly what we're doing, right? So we don't really feel that in these instances, that just by necessarily saying that we're pushing for environmental change, that voters won't choose to go to war. We feel that in these instances, people can still do it, right? What we are doing is just creating that shock. Sit down. And this idea that suddenly, I don't know what he talked about, the crops will be not growing in the right place in the future. I think that's trivial. I think scientists can actually determine whether actually planting those crops in some area is beneficial or not. On the last issue, realizing mistakes and how opinions are not actually taken into consideration. You have to understand, right? This is an environment where you can't tell whether this person is wrong or not. Now, secondly, this is also not an opinion. Because you have to understand, the environment is already deteriorating. We're just exaggerating of how far the rate is going or how fast the rate is going as well. Closing.
Okay. So can you explain to me why do you need to exaggerate the extent to which global warming is man-made? Why do you need to exaggerate that aspect?
Why do you have to exaggerate that aspect? I don't understand that point.
So why do you need to exaggerate that it's man-made and not say the climate is bad?
It can be both. I don't see why it has to be different, right? I mean, there are instances where climate change is because it's man-made and it's because it's natural. I don't really see the point of that. But the main issue of this debate, right? Let's just go on to the reasons of why actually exaggerating, creating this paranoia is good. How this actually minimizes the damage in the future by jump-starting the development of scientific technology needed to combat environmental change. Ladies and gentlemen, what we see here is not just what Salle talked about, it's just creating discourse. But what this discourse actually entails, right? We don't want society to be complacent. It's what we saw in the industrialization era earlier in the 1930s of America and UK. But they were very complacent, environment was not a worry. But now they're suffering the consequences and enacting policies to ensure that the environment and the situation within America is taken care of, carbon taxing and what have you. But what we say here is when this exaggeration is created, now where we see is the fear actually creates the fear within corporations as well. That's why you see a lot of funding going to environmental think tanks. So what we do see here is because these individuals and these corporations do have a stake. I mean, car manufacturing companies also have a stake into what happens into the environment because of fuel consumption as well, and also that affects their sales. So what we see in these instances, when you make society complacent, we have 20 years. We don't really see you have 20 years and it's not going to really be that bad. What happens is you have a delay in things such as the building of hybrid cars, transmitters of fuel pumps that actually help save fuel when you actually drive these cars, technology of recycling water. Although these things might actually not happen within the future, but creating this technology in the very beginning actually helps not only minimize the damage within these instances, but actually makes us even more prepared when the time actually comes. So why is this important? Because actually at the end of the day, when the time has come and the damage has been created, that's where you see that the implementations of these policies actually being created. Because right now, sit down, but we feel that because of the idea that society still has time, that's why you see society going into other things, such as probably war or hunger, but we don't really see that tendency as well. They're probably going to things such as cosmetic products and what makes their boobs bigger, right? So So we feel that in these instances, that's why jump-starting and minimizing that damage is very much important, because the environment is very much volatile in essence, right? So lastly, the second point I'm going to talk about is how this creates political support to push the idea of green development as well. Because you have to realize the commitment within these nations are just very much volatile, just as the environment. As what you see now with societies, now nations such as, there are now nations that actually follow the Kyoto Protocol, don't follow the Kyoto Protocol, and now a second Kyoto Protocol is about to be created. What you not only create is the motivations and the commitment that these nations have to push for greener values, but what you are also creating is a culture of being more environmentally friendly. That's the value that you don't get within your policy. Because by the time in your policy, by the time actually comes and doomsday is upon us, there's no time where the culture of being environmentally friendly can be created. It's not just about corporations or employees or adults, but the children as well, who have already been inculcated with them of which boxes or which trash cans to throw their plastic bottles into. These are the kinds of things that are intangible and very much important to save the environment. They wanted to propose to you harms, but the harms also exist within their paradigm as well. We don't really see how the harms are necessarily exacerbated under our model, but at the essence, or at the end of the day, we are protecting the environment. So ladies and gentlemen, what have we talked to you about? We told you about why the importance of why it's justified to you for individuals or for these scientists to lie in this instance when it comes into an area of necessity, especially when it comes into something that's volatile as the environment. Nobody can predict tsunamis unless it's 10 minutes before it actually happens. So we feel that in these instances, erring on the side of caution is very much important. Not only do you get the culture of being environmentally friendly, but you also get the development and technology that is needed to combat the monopoly of these corporations that are already existing within society. With that, we're very proud to propose.
I thank the Deputy Prime Minister. Now we welcome the Deputy Leader of the Opposition from Tel Aviv.
Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk to you about scientific reliability and why that's important both for this case and winning in the environmental battle, but also for any other case we would ever want to do ever again. But first, let's see what we've just heard. Yes, I said that we're ever 3 times in one sentence. First of all, we said, look, we all agree that we need to do something, so it doesn't really matter if we exaggerate. We remind them of the fact that they're exaggerating, whether it's man-made, so we don't always agree what we're actually going to do. And I've already told you about the fact that sometimes we need to adapt and not to prevent. That was one of the main issues that were raised after the Pakistani floods, because no one worried about how to adapt to these changes, how to save people when these changes happen, and if by any chance, even if it is low, they are wrong, they are sentencing many, many people to death because of environmental issues. We think that's a problem. Secondly, they said, look, there are so many important things. How do you decide? You can't do this. If there are 45,000 people dying every month in Congo because of war, and there are, let's say, 200 people dying a month for, let's say, terror attacks, then we can prioritize them. Why? Because one is more important than the other. No, thank you. How do I know that 45,000 people die every month in Congo? Because we have facts. When we have the facts, we can prioritize and save more lives. If we just say, look, we can prioritize, both are important, anyone can exaggerate whatever they want because it's really, really important, then we will make the wrong decisions. And let's just take something that is not environmentalism. Let's say, for example, that the government now thinks that terrorism is really important, and they exaggerate how many people die in terrorist attacks, and then they increase their defense, the money that goes to defense instead of environmentalism, and then we'll have that damage. Environmentalism is in no way different from any one of those things. Once we have the facts, we can make rational decisions, no thank you, and once we don't, we can't. Then they gave us the whole point about how they don't trust people. And we don't think that's relevant. If you want your professionals to make those decisions, that's fine. But if you're lying about the facts, neither the average citizen, who we do trust, by the way, but they apparently don't, nor the professional can make any real decisions. And so you're not letting anyone, not your government, not your professionals, and not your average voting citizens, anyone can't make the right decision. No, thank you. And then lastly, they said, look, if we don't exaggerate, we can't make actual decisions. So first of all, we don't recognize that the fact that no one is actually doing anything means that they're wrong. We think that the fact that people are giving money to aid and not giving money to, or enough money for environmental causes means that they care about it more. Or the fact that an economic crisis is something that people care about more. But secondly, everything the government just told us sounds very scary. Now, unless they already started implementing their system and were lying about the facts, we think that if you, like they partially said, like if you just tell these people, and if it's important enough, no thank you, and if it's more dangerous, then it will be effective enough, because we assume that our governments have some kind of idea of what is important and what isn't. If not, we have no reason to believe that their environmentalist claims are important if we don't trust them. And lastly, what I will show you in my points, no thank you, is that if we reduce the reliability of those facts, we will actually harm our own cause. Let's start talking about scientific reliability. The problem with the government is that they are fighting the wrong battles. We've heard from closing opposition that they said there are a lot of people that until they hear their 90%, that 90% number, they won't believe you. The problem is that we already have that 90% number. The American Meteorology Society said that with 90% probability there will be between 3.5 to 7.4 degrees of a rise in degrees in the next 100 years. They said that, no thank you, this year. The Durban summit that happened just last week concluded that we can reduce 2 degrees in the next 50 years if we do this climate change. Science is for us. They think it's pretty damn important, no thank you, and we can do something about it. The battle we're fighting is whether people listen to that science or not. Because when they talk about corporational influence, and they said we're going to fight it with videos and statistics, I can bet my ass that doesn't make sense, sorry. I can damn well bet that they are better at showing their own statistics, no thank you, and they are better at creating videos. What we have on our side is the truth, and let's talk about why that is important. We have two problems in society. One is that people don't trust science in general, and the second is that they don't trust climate science specifically. How does this harm their ability to rely on science? Well, first of all, there is, like we assume, a small chance, even if it is, well, I'll take you in a minute, a small chance that they will get caught. Now they say, but it is a small chance. Yes, but you only need 1 in every 100 scientists to be caught, because everyone else knows that there is a small chance they will be caught, and so every other scientific activity will be suspect. We still remember the chart in which they resized the chart to fit the climate claims that they were trying to make. I assume that most people in the audience do remember when that happened several years ago. And so we remember that and are suspect of anything that anyone does. But what I'm going to show you now is that they don't even have to be caught for it to harm the reliability of science. But first, closing.
You say that these people don't claim to believe in science, but everybody that's against climate change keeps bringing their own things to say that climate change is apparently not happening. Don't you think we have to have 9%? We need more because they're on these facts.
Okay. If we have fake studies showing that there is no problem with climate change, and real non-fake studies showing that they are, we think the real one would win. That's how every scientific inquiry works, because we scrutinize it and we find the faults, no thank you, and we see that the faults are only on one side, therefore the other side wins. If we have fake statistics on both sides, thank you, then you get a dirty political game. Back to my point. Now, they said, okay, so why, even if you don't get caught, you're making pro science? 2 reasons. One is that scientific experiments tend to agree, right? If you do something that is right, if you're not lying about these things, different scientific experiments created by different people will create the same results. Once you have people lying, you don't need to know who's lying to be able to see that they are inconsistent, to see that someone exaggerated this much and another person exaggerated that much. The second, more important one, is short-term predictions. If you say that in the next 10 years there will be a 10-degree rise in climate change, what do you think will happen after 10 years pass and nothing happened? How many funds do you think will actually go to climate change from 10 years around to 1,000 years? Now, not very much. But we won't only lose this battle, we will lose all next battles. Because when people fought against the church, and when people fought against, consensus, they always used scientific method. Had they lied then, we would not be able to use it today. The same authority that they are using to try to utilize our method is the one they are destroying in any other battle we're going to do. Because you are destroying our only way to be able to advance humanity, we beg you to oppose.